have the feeling that everything is already collapsing, even before the characters themselves realize it. And the more I watch these events unfold, the more I can sense that the cracks in Hayley and Lynette's plan are no longer small enough to ignore. They are widening, breathing, almost alive, threatening to swallow everything they have tried so desperately to control. Beyond the Gate spoilers have been teasing us with the idea that Hayley and Lynette's attempt to push Tomas out has failed. And honestly, I am not surprised, because from the very beginning, their plan always felt rushed, built on fear rather than strategy. And when fear drives decisions, mistakes are inevitable. And right now, those mistakes are beginning to surface one by one. I keep thinking about Hayley, about how she has been watching Tomas so closely, almost obsessively, because she knows something is off. She knows that Tomas is not just another employee blindly following orders. He is observing, questioning, connecting dots that were never meant to be connected, and that alone makes him dangerous in her eyes. That is exactly why she wanted him gone. Not because he did anything wrong, not because he failed in his duties, but because he was doing his job too well, and in a world built on deception, competence becomes a threat. What fascinates me is how far Hayley is willing to go just to protect her scheme, because this is not just about office politics anymore. This is about survival, about securing the money she has been planning to take from Bill. And when I think about the lengths she is willing to reach, even poisoning Bill to ensure his quiet and seemingly natural death, I cannot help but feel that we are watching someone who has already crossed a line that most people would never dare to approach. And once that line is crossed, there is no going back. Tomas, on the other hand, feels like an accidental obstacle, someone who never intended to get involved in any of this darkness, someone who simply wanted a better future, a stable career, a chance to prove himself, especially after Bill recognized his potential and gave him a promotion. That promotion changed everything, because suddenly Tomas was no longer invisible. He was no longer just another name in the office. He became someone with responsibility, with access, with influence, and that is when he unknowingly stepped into dangerous territory. I can almost see the moment it happened. The moment Hayley realized that Tomas was not just progressing, he was getting closer to the truth. And from that moment on, he became a problem that needed to be eliminated. But what I find even more interesting is that Tomas never set out to destroy Hayley's plan. He simply followed instructions, completed tasks, did what was expected of him, and yet, in doing so, he began to unravel something much bigger than himself. Last week's events made this tension even clearer. Tomas received a call from another law firm. And I remember thinking that this could be his way out, a clean escape from the chaos that was quietly building around him. But then Kat appeared, interrupting that conversation at the worst possible moment, almost as if fate itself was refusing to let Tomas leave. That interruption changed the trajectory of everything. Because shortly after, Tomas made the decision to resign. And for a moment, it felt like he was finally taking control of his own story, choosing safety over uncertainty, stepping away before things could spiral further out of control. But Bill refused. And that refusal is something I cannot stop thinking about. Bill apologized to Tomas, which in itself is already unusual, and he insisted that Tomas should stay, that maybe things are not as clear as they seem, that perhaps trusting unverified suspicions is not the right move. And while on the surface this sounds reasonable, I cannot shake the feeling that Bill is standing at the edge of something he does not fully understand. He is trying to be fair, trying to be rational, but in doing so, he may be unknowingly keeping Tomas exactly where Hayley wants him. Because as long as Tomas stays, he remains within reach. And that is dangerous. I keep asking myself what Tomas will do next, and the answer seems almost inevitable. He will stay. Not just because Bill asked him to, but because something inside him is no longer willing to walk away. Because now, this is personal. Hayley tried to push him out, tried to ruin his career, and that kind of threat does not just disappear. It lingers, it grows, it transforms into something else. Revenge, perhaps, or maybe justice. And I think Tomas will convince himself that what he is doing is the right thing, that continuing to investigate Hayley is not about retaliation, but about exposing the truth, about protecting himself, about making sure he is not the next victim. But intentions can be misleading, because the deeper he goes, the harder it will be to get out. And Hayley will not sit still. This is not the first time she has tried to get rid of Tomas, and it certainly will not be the last. And I can already imagine her next move, something more calculated, more subtle, something that does not directly attack Tomas, but instead undermines him, isolates him, turns others against him. She will try to make Bill lose faith in him. That is the real goal. Because if Bill stops trusting Tomas, then everything else becomes easier. Tomas loses his position, his credibility, his protection. And once that happens, he becomes vulnerable. Completely vulnerable. And I think the next piece of this puzzle might involve Madison. There is a strong possibility that Bill will assign Tomas a new task, defending Madison and helping to dismiss the accusations against her, especially because of Chelsea. And this situation feels like a perfect setup for something much bigger. Madison is already in trouble. Her mistake has led to a suspension. Her career is hanging by a thread, and she desperately needs someone to help her, to fix what has gone wrong. Tomas could be that person, but that also makes him an easy target. Because if Hayley wants to destroy Tomas, what better way than to sabotage a case he is responsible for? What better way than to ensure that he fails publicly, that his reputation is damaged beyond repair? And if that happens, Madison will suffer the consequences as well. She will be dragged down with him, her situation worsening, her chances of recovery slipping away, and in the end, she might not even realize that she was just a pawn in someone else's game. That is the part that unsettles me the most, because not everyone in this story understands the game they are playing. Some of them are just trying to survive. Meanwhile, Tomas is facing another kind of pressure, one that comes from Kat. Kat refuses to stay silent. She believes that exposing Hayley and Lynette is the right thing to do, that Bill deserves to know the truth, and I can see where she is coming from. I really can. Because from her perspective, this is about justice, about preventing something terrible from happening. But Tomas does not see it that way. He is afraid, not just of Hayley, but of the consequences that could follow if Bill finds out everything. Because if this situation explodes, it will not just destroy Hayley and Lynette, it could destroy the entire firm, everyone involved, including Tomas himself. His future is at stake. And that fear is what drives him to stop Kat, to convince her, or maybe even pressure her into staying quiet, into letting him handle things his own way. But Kat is not the kind of person who backs down easily. And that creates a new conflict, a dangerous one. Because now it is not just Tomas versus Hayley. It is Tomas versus Kat as well. Two people who might want the same outcome, but are willing to take completely different paths to get there. And when paths collide like that, the result is rarely peaceful. I cannot help but feel that we are approaching a turning point, a moment where everything that has been building beneath the surface will finally come into the light, where secrets will no longer be secrets, where alliances will be tested, broken, reshaped. Hayley is running out of time. Tomas is running out of options. Bill is running out of clarity. And Kat is running out of patience. Each of them is moving, making decisions, pushing the story forward, but none of them fully understands the consequences of what they are about to set in motion. And that is what makes this so compelling, because the outcome is no longer predictable. It is no longer controlled. It is chaotic, unstable, ready to explode at any moment. And as I sit here thinking about everything that has happened, everything that is about to happen, I cannot shake the feeling that someone is going to fall. Not just professionally, not just emotionally, but completely. The only question is who? Will it be Tomas, who dared to look too closely? Will it be Madison, who got caught in the crossfire? Will it be Kat, who refuses to stay silent? Or will it finally be Hayley, whose carefully constructed plan is beginning to crumble under the weight of its own deception? I do not have the answer yet, but I can feel it coming. And when it does, nothing will ever be the same again.